You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. There's another Confederate statue is coming down. Today, hundreds gathered in Richmond, Virginia to watch the removal of the Stonewall Jackson monument. Richmond Mayor Levar Stoney ordered the immediate removal of the monument in less than 2 hours after the Richmond City Council held off a vote to get rid of the Confederate monuments. Instead, the vote was to be taken on Thursday. Stoney released a video statement further explaining the emergency removal today.
Fellow Richmonders, today I order the immediate removal of Confederate monuments from their pedestals. This work, already underway, will continue over the next several days. I've given this order for two reasons. First, it's a matter of public safety. Failing to remove the statues now poses a severe, immediate, and growing threat to public safety. For the last 33 consecutive days, people have been gathering in large numbers in our city. And as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to surge and protesters attempt to take down Confederate statues themselves or confront others who are also doing so, the risk grows for serious illness, injury, or death. As we've already seen occur in the great Commonwealth, we have an urgent need to protect the public. Multiple acts of the City Council and the governor provide me the authority to act today. In 2017, the council adopted the City of Richmond's Emergency Operations Plan and named Richmond's mayor as the Director of Emergency Management. And on May 29th of this year, City Council consented to my declaration of emergency relating to the recent civil unrest. 2 days later, on May 31st, the governor issued an executive order proclaiming a state of emergency in Richmond for the same reasons. Yesterday, he extended that order through at least July 30th. Now, the Code of Virginia and the city's emergency operations plan specifically authorized me as mayor to protect the health and safety of persons and property. I urge everyone to allow our team of crane operators to complete the removals safely. I will be working with council over the coming weeks to outline an inclusive public process through which we, as a community, can determine the ultimate fate of these statues. Until then, they will be kept in storage. The second reason I act today is because it is past time. As the capital city of Virginia, we have needed to turn this page for decades, and today we will. Since the end of Richmond's official tenure as the capital of the Confederacy 155 years ago, we have been burdened with that legacy. The great weight of that burden has fallen on our residents of color, but has also placed a weight on all of our brothers and sisters who saw the unmet potential for Richmond to become an international example of a diverse, compassionate, and inclusive community. These statues, although symbolic, have cast a shadow on the dreams of our children of color. By removing them, we can begin to heal and focus our attention on our future. Let me be clear. Removing these monuments is not a solution to the deeply embedded racial injustices in our city and nation, but is a down payment. We have much work to do to realize Richmond's true potential. Now is an opportunity to listen and to learn. Just as we're transforming the city's landscape, we must transform the systems that have long served to hold back Richmonders of color. We will replace these symbols, not only with new artwork that inspires and reflects our shared values, but also with new policies, practices, procedures rooted in those values. I also recognize the opportunity to engage people beyond the established leadership in Richmond. The past month has brought many new and young leaders to the fore, from the Black Lives Matter movement to Voices for American Indians and beyond. It is my responsibility to ensure you have a prominent seat at a larger table where you can be heard and understood. This afternoon, the story of a new Richmond begins. The public process will allow us to consider how to replace these monuments together. And I hope that we choose representations of our community's collective ideals of equality and justice. May we choose artworks that bring sustenance to the eyes as well as the soul, and in which our children and their children will see themselves and their greatest aspirations. So let us move forward together, remembering what Dr. King once said: never, never be afraid to do what's right. Richmond, I love you, and I look forward to working with you as we chart a more inclusive course for our great city.
See, what you're dealing with here, folks, you're dealing with, again, this contentious battle going on. In fact, Donald Trump today sent this video out to his followers. You need to understand what's happening because they're trying to push as many of their racial white resentment buttons as possible. Watch this.
To do with pursuing justice or unifying the country. This is all about sheer political gain, political calculation, and trying to satisfy the cancel culture.
There is a proper way to petition your government if you do not like something, and it is called a peaceful protest.
I just think lawlessness of pulling down statues, let's do it the way that it's supposed to be done.
It is extremely unhealthy in a society governed by the rule of law to allow the mob to prevail.
As a nation, we are founded on principles. We are a constitutional republic. We've got to stop the mob.
Why would you take an abolitionist statute down? Why would you be going after Abraham Lincoln? The people doing this hate our country.
We have great parts of our history. We have very dark and ugly parts of our history. I don't think we can just wipe that away and ignore that all those things occurred. And I think it is important to have good reminders around our nation of dark seasons in our past so that we will remember what we've come from.
Tearing down history for the sake of anarchy is not how we make progress in this country.
Your system of government is, as is the case here in the United States, it's informed by our past. There are some historical figures that, while not perfect, we can learn from. We don't want to go changing everything all at once.
Americans know that an imperfect nation built by imperfect heroes is still the most perfect union the world has ever seen. And when the dust settles, it is never, never the mobs or bullies whom we honor.
Well, Laura, to listen to Mitch McConnell say is still the most perfect union, the fact that he could even utter such stupidity shows that for a lot of people who look like us, this is not a perfect union. And it has not been a perfect union, and it's still not a perfect union. And to listen to those Republicans in that video, no, we need these things to remind us of the past. Go to Germany right now. You will not find a single statue or monument to Hitler or the Nazis. And trust me, they have never forgotten.
Yeah, and the mob, this idea that the mob and the bullies are wrong or something, you know, really, the reason that the statues are down in Richmond is because of protest every single day for about a month, the entire month of June. If it wasn't for the activists in the streets getting out there and expressing their discontent and being loud and getting noisy and all of that, then it just doesn't happen. There was an extended discussion with regard to taking the statues down in Richmond, Virginia a few years ago, and they wanted to, quote, put the statues in context. They wanted to somehow put a plaque at all the bottom of them explaining who everybody was. And there was always a group of people involved, the grassroots activists who were saying, no, they actually have to come down. These people represented slavery. They fought for slavery. They fought effectively for racism. That's a lot of times how change happens. We may not want to admit it, but that street demonstration is what made this moment happen today in Richmond. And, you know, the idea from the Republicans that this country was founded on this type of demonstration, this type of activism. So I have no idea what that movie was about. But, you know, unfortunately, the president, Donald Trump, hasn't figured out yet. I think he's going to find out in November that you don't have enough. His base is not big enough to win. He's going to try to go for that again, but I just don't think it's going to work.
And look, the reality, Robert, when you look at this whole deal, again, you just can't openly display the swastika in Germany. Germans have not forgotten the millions of Jews who were killed. They have not forgotten that. They haven't forgotten that history. In fact, they are ashamed of their history. The difference between Germany and the United States is that the people who support Mitch McConnell, the people who support the Republicans, they love that history of the Confederates. And they somehow, not somehow, we know exactly how they did it, but they're mad that we are rejecting the War of Northern Aggression. We are rejecting the fairy tales that they created, where people go, no, this is pride in the South. This is not about slavery.
Well, look, Roland, beyond that, you talk about the issue of fairy tales. The fact is that we lie to people in this country. We teach them propaganda in school, and we teach them that as history. So we teach that George Washington chopped down a cherry tree and could not tell a lie. We don't teach that he owned 300 slaves and used to steal their teeth to put into his dentures. We don't talk about the fact that Thomas Jefferson, he's the father of our country, writer of the Declaration of Independence. We don't talk about him owning 150 slaves and raping children. So to maintain this lie, they're willing to do whatever it takes to maintain the lie of the America that they have created. So when they talk about this idea that, well, these statues are history, 9/11 is history. You show me where the statue and the monument to the 9/11 hijackers is in New York, and then I will say you can keep your Confederate statues. But the fact is, the way that you teach history isn't by having a Confederate general astride upon a horse in his full military regalia, holding a musket and a saber, looking as if he's leading a war against the devil himself. That doesn't show context. That doesn't show what really happened. That promotes the propaganda image that we have in America, that white is always right, and white supremacy is so woven into this nation that to attack white supremacy is to attack America itself.
And that's why, Tiffany, these folks are angry. And the reason they're yanking statues down, because these politicians didn't have the guts to stand up to voters and remove them themselves. The public is saying, we ain't waiting on y'all any longer.
Roland, in 2015, which is not the earliest that this started, but I'm going to name it because it was a pivotal moment in our history. Speaking of history, in June 2015, Bree Newsom was arrested for climbing the pole to take down the Confederate flag. 5 years later, we are here looking at Confederate statues, flags across the country that have not been removed by elected officials. I am so angry when I hear elected officials tell the mob, which, by the way, are people like me, because we're the ones who are the leaders, the strategists, the activists, the protesters, the organizers, the leaders, the spokespersons, the fundraisers, the strategists, etc. We are the ones out in the streets trying to figure out. We tried to play nicely and do it your way. It's not working. Petitions. We spoke at the city council meeting. We voted people in office. Y'all did not remove any of the statues of the flags. We just saw what happened in Mississippi when they removed the symbol of the Confederate and the actual flag. But 5 years later, because Bree took down the flag back in 2015, now we're looking at people tear down, not violently, tear down these icons of pillars of Confederate leaders who, by the way, I do not learn history by looking at a statue. What you want to do and what you need to do is fix Common Core and teach true Black history, teach the true history of America. Then we can have a conversation about America's history. If you're going to talk about the statues and not about Common Core, you don't need to have a conversation with me about what America needed to fix its legacy and its history and what we need to stand proud to represent this country for. So when we talk about tearing down these statues, I don't care. The speech that you just played from the mayor, the young mayor in Richmond, was brilliant and incredible for those two simple reasons he decided to take them down, because we are still in the middle of a pandemic. So it would be wise and advantageous of our elected leaders to say, wait a minute, y'all tearing down the statues? Okay, we're just going to tear them down before y'all decide to tear them down. So that way, at least we can savor them and put them in storage. Because what we're going to do when we get to them is not be nice. Because when we tried to follow the process, when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, when Bree took down the flag by herself, when we petition, when we post on social media, you still don't listen. So now it's gotten to the point where we need to escalate our tactics. And clearly that has y'all up in arms. We plan on continuing that strategy to escalate our tactics, to get what we want, to make sure our history teaches the true history of this country, and to make sure at the end of the day, Black people are free and liberated of all white supremacy, period.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks. The folks at Ceek.com have an incredible offer for you folks. And these are these 360-degree 4D headphones that you can use for music. You can Bluetooth. You can for gamers, all that sort of stuff. Mary Spiel's a sister. She's actually the inventor of these headphones. Phenomenal. I love the sound of these. They also have the virtual reality headsets, which allow for you to actually watch VR virtual reality videos, 360-degree videos. You can simply pop your phone right into here. And then, of course, if you you can also go like YouTube has an app as well that has a channel that deals with a lot of those VR ads. And so you can actually do all of that, folks. Check this out and pop it on. And guess what? Check out your virtual reality videos. Go to Ceek.com, 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 Ceek.com. Use this promo code right here, RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020 for a discount on these headphones. And then, of course, when you support them, you support this show, Roland Martin Unfiltered.